The Philadelphia experiment has long puzzled scientists and paranormal enthusiasts alike, with many believing it caused the American warship USS Eldridge to shift into another time or even another dimension. Though never scientifically verified, the incident sparked widespread suspicion and laid the foundation for research into time travel and alternate dimensions, eventually giving rise to what became known as the Montauk Project. This covert operation, developed throughout the 1970s and 1980s, was conceived as a continuation of the Philadelphia experiment, which had reportedly resulted in an unintended temporal or dimensional displacement. Driven by that outcome, researchers pursued the study of electromagnetic frequency effects on matter and time. Subsequent experiments were relocated to an abandoned military base known as Camp Hero, located in Montauk. There, former soldiers and scientists were recruited to conduct a range of classified tests, including time travel, mind control, matter manipulation, and communication with entities from other dimensions. In their book, The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, Preston Nichols and Peter Moon reveal that scientists had successfully opened time portals, enabling them to journey into the past and future, and even to parallel dimensions, where they allegedly made contact with beings from other worlds. They also claim to have programmed young boys, dubbed the Montauk Boys, to control the minds of others, read thoughts, and transmit mental commands across great distances using highly precise frequencies. Some witnesses recounted the sudden appearance of strange creatures during experiments that spiraled out of control, while others claimed to have encountered alternate versions of themselves from different timelines. Yet, as expected, no official documents or scientific testimonies have ever substantiated these claims, rendering the entire project more akin to science fiction. Nonetheless, believers insist that a secret collaboration exists between the U.S. government, or more accurately, the global government, and beings from other dimensions, working together to develop advanced technologies in pursuit of mutual interests. Chief among these is the controversial Project Lucifer. Allegedly carried out at CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, this project aims to open portals to metaphysical dimensions and summon infernal forces. We explore this topic in depth in the chapter They Are Coming, which you can revisit through the link provided in the description or pinned comment. What draws attention is the name Lucifer, widely known in Christian texts and Masonic symbology as the devil. And yet, there exists a real telescope bearing the same name at the Vatican Observatory. Developed through a consortium of German and American universities and research institutes, Lucifer is in fact an acronym for Large Binocular Telescope Near-Infrared Utility with Camera and Integral Field Unit for Extragalactic Research. According to official accounts, this sophisticated telescope was built to study distant galaxies, observe stars invisible to the naked eye, analyze cosmic dust, monitor star formation, and search for exoplanets along with their atmospheric compositions. But is it truly plausible that such a lengthy and oddly specific name just happens to abbreviate perfectly into Lucifer? Can this really be dismissed as coincidence? Is there perhaps a link between the Vatican's telescope and the deepening mystery surrounding CERN's Large Hadron Collider, a facility that, day by day, draws increasing suspicion from those who believe it's not a scientific laboratory at all, but a diabolical project designed to open gateways to hell, through which demonic forces might infiltrate our physical world, much like the infamous Trojan horse? Supporters of this theory point to the cryptic symbols displayed prominently on CERN's premises, most notably the statue of Shiva, the Hindu deity of destruction and renewal, symbolizing the cosmic cycle of death and rebirth, a theme echoed in the iconic film The Matrix. There's also the infamous video leaked in 2016, filmed in CERN's courtyard, appearing to show a ritualistic human sacrifice. Authorities later dismissed it as a parody staged by staff members. But for many, the questions remain unsettlingly open. Moreover, it has become increasingly evident that the world before CERN is markedly different from the world after it. One of the most compelling examples of this shift is the account of American researcher and author Fiona Broome. At a conference in 2009, during a casual conversation with a group of attendees, she remarked that Nelson Mandela had died in prison during the 1980s. She recalled vivid details of his funeral, the news coverage, and the global response to his passing. To her astonishment, she was informed that Mandela was, in fact, still alive at the time and had gone on to become the president of South Africa. Following this revelation, Broome discovered that a significant number of people shared the same memory, which led her to believe that it was a collective phenomenon. She subsequently launched a website to document similar occurrences in which individuals remembered events that never happened or recalled radically different versions of actual events. This phenomenon came to be known as the Mandela Effect. It gained widespread attention, particularly with its spread across the internet and social media platforms. It became one of the most prominent examples cited by those who believe that collective memory can be distorted. Scientists often attribute this to cognitive glitches, in which personal memories are influenced by media and societal inputs, leading to false yet deeply ingrained recollections. However, an alternative theory proposes that the experiments conducted at CERN may have inadvertently caused a rift between parallel universes, allowing individuals to unconsciously shift between different versions of themselves existing in these alternate realities. Returning to the Lucifer Project, it is often suggested that the project's name was not chosen arbitrarily, but symbolically representing, in their view, a defiance against the divine. The aim appears to be the creation of gateways or breaches between worlds to summon entities from other dimensions. Despite their seemingly distinct objectives, the Lucifer Project is frequently associated with Project Omega, one of the most enigmatic and shadowy conspiracy theories. Unlike MKUltra or Operation Mockingbird, no official documents or testimonies have confirmed its existence. Nonetheless, Project Omega is often portrayed in conspiracy literature as the penultimate phase of the New World Order's grand design. Total domination of humanity through the consolidation of governments, the erasure of national identities, the establishment of a centralized autocratic authority, and the unification of religions. Intriguingly, the project's name is drawn from the final letter of the Greek alphabet, symbolizing the end or final stage. In this context, Project Omega is seen as the endgame, the culmination of a meticulously orchestrated agenda crafted by the global elite. According to writer and researcher David Icke, Project Omega unfolds in a series of stages designed to pave the way for absolute control. These include global financial manipulation via central banks and the International Monetary Fund, the imposition of a unified digital system, a universal electronic currency, biometric identification for every individual, and a comprehensive surveillance regime. It also encompasses control over education and media to shape public consciousness, the dismantling of familial and religious values to ease the imposition of a singular global identity, and the calculated spread of chaos through wars, engineered viruses, and economic inflation. Once chaos reaches a critical mass, it becomes easier to impose order. Embodying the famous Masonic motto, Ordo ab Chao, or Order out of Chaos, which many believe encapsulates their ultimate goal. The primary tools of this project include artificial intelligence, employed for predictive analytics and behavioral control, fifth-generation networks, enabling seamless data transmission and digital domination, and biometric chips, integrating personal identity with physical surveillance. In essence, the project's objectives revolve around the dismantling of national identities and their replacement with a centralized world government, a unified economic system, a global digital currency, and the dissolution or amalgamation of religions into a single universal faith. As is often the case, most historians and scholars dismiss the idea of Project Omega as speculative fantasy, unsupported by credible documentation or empirical evidence. Instead, they view it as a byproduct of extrapolated analyses of real-world trends, such as globalization, digital transformation, and evolving geopolitical strategies that have been amplified within the framework of a conspiratorial narrative, rendering them plausible in theory but ultimately rooted in fiction. None of this, however, can be fully realized without first amassing an immense trove of data on humanity, data to be fed into an advanced artificial intelligence capable of manipulating minds and eroding their resistance, preparing them to believe what will be presented by the so-called crowning jewel of the infernal plan, Project Bluebeam. This project first emerged in the public sphere during the 1990s, introduced by Canadian journalist and writer Serge Monast, who claimed that NASA, in collaboration with the United Nations, was orchestrating an elaborate plan to deceive humanity. By using advanced technologies such as holography and three-dimensional sound, they aimed to fabricate an apocalyptic illusion, exploiting fear to unite mankind under a single world government, one political system, and a unified religion. The project is said to unfold in several stages. It begins with the destruction of the global financial and scientific structures through artificially induced earthquakes, man-made disasters, or electromagnetic bombs designed to cripple all electronic systems and plunge the world into paralysis. Another phase involves the reassessment of religious and historical understanding through the discovery of falsified archaeological artifacts, intended to undermine traditional beliefs and reframe them with non-divine origins, linking them, for instance, to the Anunnaki and similar myths. This would culminate in an awe-inspiring celestial spectacle where holographic projections of prophets, deities, and messianic figures appear across different regions of the world, speaking in local languages and calling for a unification of faith under a single global religion. Simultaneously, technologies would be employed to transmit frequencies directly into the human mind, leading individuals to believe that a divine entity is speaking to them personally. Ultimately, the project is said to trigger extraordinary or terrifying scenarios, such as a staged alien invasion or a mass abduction by extraterrestrial beings, crafted to convince the global population of the need for a unified front to save humanity, thereby justifying the imposition of a new world order. Naturally, this scheme is said to rely on forbidden and classified technologies, advanced space-based holographic projectors, electromagnetic weapons, and devices capable of broadcasting auditory frequencies over unknown wavelengths, possibly via structures like HARP towers, to manipulate human neural networks. It is worth noting that Serge Monast, the first to expose the project, died in 1996 under mysterious circumstances that remain the subject of speculation. Just like other figures such as Philip Schneider, Frank Olson, and David Kelly. These individuals, pioneers in revealing hidden scientific and political truths, were developers of transformative technologies, might have sparked revolutions in human advancement had their discoveries not been silenced and sequestered by the global elite. And now, after this long descent into the labyrinth of forbidden technology and the notorious secret projects, one question arises. Have you noticed the common thread linking them all? The manipulation of the human mind? Indeed, the mind is both the source of strength and the point of vulnerability. Whoever controls it can reshape reality itself, dictating thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions, reprogramming human consciousness to accept imposed narratives, policies, and ideologies without resistance. Through this, choices are no longer freely made, but carefully engineered within invisible boundaries, turning individuals into obedient cogs in a colossal machine orchestrated from the shadows. But it goes beyond mere control. The dominion over minds grants its wielder an intellectual and psychological supremacy that transcends borders, politics, and even religion. It plants the idea that reality is nothing more than what is shown through filtered education systems, manipulated media, and engineered digital environments, trapping consciousness within a fabricated world utterly detached from the real one. From this perspective, the global elite understand that the swiftest path to dominion is not paved with tanks and armies, but with screens, schoolbooks, and pharmaceuticals. Through soft warfare that seizes the keys to the mind, they redraw the boundaries of thought, construct collective visions of the world, and breed generations who unknowingly exalt invisible tyrants, simply because the instruments of tyranny are not force, but persuasion, repetition, and programming. With the advance of technology, this psychological war has entered an even more perilous phase. Tools of mind control now infiltrate every aspect of life through smartphones, advertisements, and algorithms that understand us better than we understand ourselves. Thus, this is no longer the era of traditional propaganda or primitive psychological tactics. The human mind is now a direct target for cutting-edge experiments, neural stimulation, frequency manipulation, and beyond. Technology, especially the forbidden kind, has become a subtle weapon of conquest, allowing the elite to redesign the world to suit their interests without firing a single shot, transforming humanity into programmable, modifiable, and steerable units. More chilling still is the realization that those behind this system are not content with reshaping the present. They seek to mold the future itself. For today's generation, whose consciousness is being re-engineered, will be the very architects of tomorrow's reality. If this course continues unchecked and unchallenged, we shall inevitably arrive at an era where humanity is no longer governed by states or faiths, but by intelligent systems capable of reprogramming minds with a precision that defies imagination. And the question undoubtedly lingering in your thoughts now is, how can such a scheme succeed in an age where the awakened are fully aware of its truth and intricacies? When the alleged alien armies appear, or the figures of prophets are projected in the skies, they will recognize them as nothing more than counterfeit holographic displays, and will cry out to the world, urging it to unmask the deception. Even if most people fall prey to oblivion, the cry of the awakened will form a kind of resistance, albeit against a plan that faces no real resistance, for it relies on its architect's mastery of humanity's innate capacity to forget. A forgetfulness that allows secrets and events to vanish from memory with time. This is precisely what is foretold in the words of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that the Antichrist shall not appear until people cease to remember him and the preachers no longer speak of him from the pulpits. Thus, the true strength of this plan lies in drowning collective consciousness in a sea of distraction and forgetfulness. A strategy that achieves total control without overt opposition, denying individuals even the chance to perceive that they were caught in a grand illusion. Just a century ago, children in schools were taught the earth was flat. Today, anyone voicing such an idea is deemed insane. As the intellectual and spiritual battles intensify, the threads of conspiracy are spun with masterful precision, luring humankind into a state of numbness and indifference, making it increasingly difficult for any dissenting voice to rise and make an impact. Hence, despite its occasional fragility, collective awareness remains the most potent weapon against such schemes. That is why it is relentlessly targeted with a barrage of misleading and repetitive messages, deepening the disconnect from reality, polluting minds with corrupted ideas, and weakening the ability to discern truth from illusion, rendering resistance, even among the enlightened, both marginal and feeble. Over time, societies begin to fracture between those who perceive and resist and those who remain steeped in oblivion, fostering a state of cognitive and social chaos that enables these hidden masters to subtly rearrange the deck, seizing moments of confusion and vulnerability. Accordingly, the only viable path to confront this scheme lies in enlightening the individual and cultivating a collective, discerning awareness, a fortress no one can penetrate. A fortress whose foundation is critical thinking, patience, and the refusal to be swept away by media-induced chaos. It is built through training in information analysis, constructive skepticism, and the pursuit of diverse, credible sources that explore consciousness, science, critical thought, and history to shape a deep, unbiased understanding, alert to the subtle shifts in the surrounding reality and the signs it bears. For noticing the smallest detail may unlock the entire picture. So too must we maintain emotional and spiritual balance. Practices like meditation, or any pursuit that fosters mental clarity, enhance one's ability to perceive and resist deception. Awareness is never complete without drawing near to the Creator. He is the true stronghold, the unfailing path to freedom and deliverance from both spiritual and intellectual enslavement. Otherwise, the game will go on until the balance of power tilts entirely in their favor, and resistance becomes a forgotten dream, for the true battlefield has become the very consciousness of humankind. Either we reclaim sovereignty over our minds, or we yield to an age in which the human being is no longer a free soul, but a programmable digital product. In an era where all standards are erased, and technology is harnessed to distort perception and shape behavior, anchoring ourselves in God resets the compass toward truth. And we hold with unwavering certainty that the schemes of the forces of darkness, no matter how cunning, are but as feeble as the plots of Satan, and that the plan of God is inevitably supreme.